Hiya, my name is King, but you can just call me King, and today I'm going to be discussing one of my favorite movies of all time, which is Pokemon The Rise of Darkrai. Released in February of 2008, Pokemon The Rise of Darkrai was a movie I saw on TV first and then proceeded to watch any chance I got. I'm pretty sure every single time me and my family went to Blockbuster for the next few months after this movie came out, I would ask to rent it again and again. I adored this movie so much, it was actually the only thing I asked for on my Christmas list that year. And my parents came through, unfortunately for them, as I think I subjected them to hours and hours of that movie as I watched it literally every day for months on end. Why? Well, it was likely because it was the first Pokemon movie I ever watched, and it included characters I loved. For example, Dawn, who I love so much, I dressed up as her for Halloween that year, and no one knew who I was, and I'm pretty sure I got bullied. But anyways, it was overall just a great experience for me that I will never forget. I've watched The Rise of Darkrai many times over the years since 2008, but it's been a while since I sat down and watched this movie recently, so for this video I rewatched Pokemon The Rise of Darkrai to see if it aged well. So we're going to go over the entire movie, and I'm going to express my thoughts kind of in real time as I was watching the movie, and ultimately we're going to come to a conclusion and a rating at the end. The movie starts off with a montage of legendary Pokemon that has nothing to do with the plot of the movie at all, but it looks really cool. Then we go to an intro, which is actually pretty rad, as it has a bunch of footage from older Pokemon movies in the background, because I think that this was actually the 10th Pokemon movie that was made. We then move into a void in the middle of space-time where Dialga and Palkia are fighting, and some dude tells us that there are two entities that never should have met and they cross paths and are now fighting. I wonder who that passage is about. Anyways, Dialga and Palkia fight a bunch and Palkia gets hurt, and then we immediately cut to the title card. We then cut to Ash, Dawn, and Brock, and we get told that they are going to Alamos Town because of a Pokemon contest that Dawn wants to enter. Turns out the three idiots ended up going to the wrong shore or something, so some random lady comes out of nowhere in a hot air balloon and offers them a ride. We find out her name is Alice, and Brock doesn't have her written down in his little blue book of babes. She has a Chimchar and is a hot air balloon tour guide and also a music student, and she shows us this by randomly playing a song on a, leaf. And then we pan over to Team Rocket, which is honestly my first gripe with this movie. Team Rocket does absolutely nothing in this movie. They stalk Ash for a bit as per usual and then end up seeing Darkrai saying that they want to catch him. But then they just follow around Alberto, who we will meet in a bit, and do nothing else the entire movie but kiss his ass for no reason. Like, Team Rocket could have been written out of this movie and nothing would have changed. I get that they are supposed to be comic relief, but I don't even think that they have one joke in this movie that gets me. I lied. There is a scene later on where Meowth is just climbing on James's neck for absolutely no reason, and James yells, "My neck," like the "my leg" guy from SpongeBob, and that just gets me every time. We are shown the space-time towers in the weirdest way possible. We get two shots of these 3D modeled towers, and Brock says, "The one on the right represents time, and the one on the left represents space," as if we couldn't assume that. But it is too late to think about that, because now suddenly there is some crazy space-time wind, and the balloon goes all nuts, and so does the dude from the beginning's computer. Because of this random wind, Alice says that she will take them on a tour of the town, and we break into a musical montage of our three amigos going around the town and just doing a bunch of random stuff. They run into trainers that look like their main Pokemon, which is a weird thing that this movie does with a few of its characters. And like, Piplup is battling an Empoleon, which... okay then. And also we get another shot of the space-time towers before panning over to a garden where we just see Pokemon hanging out and doing Pokemon shit, like fighting over berries and trying to murder each other. Ash and Dawn start screaming at them, but Alice plays a bangin' song on her leaf and they all chill out. The song is actually super important to the plot, so we stay on this shot and the song for a very long time. Then all of a suddenly, a Gallade comes running out of the trees and they all follow him and find some twisted up, distorted pillars. And then the main villain of this movie just appears out of a bush and starts being dramatic. I say villain in quotes because like they portray him to be a villainous character when he first our eyes, but he is just an asshole the entire movie. His name is Baron Alberto, and he insists that Darkrai fucked up the pillars because he was bored. Alberto then makes his Licky Licky brutally assault the dude from the beginning of the movie, and we find out that Alice knows him and his name is Tonio. Alberto then says Alice is supposed to marry him, and she says no, and then he just keeps on persisting that they have dinner together, and it's really weird, but Alice says that she loves Tonio because he saved her from falling off of a cliff this one time when they were younger. Then that pesky space-time wind shows up again, and Darkrai appears, and he decides to slice a flower pot in half for absolutely no reason and threatens someone. And of course, every character takes that personally, and Alberto decides to attack first and ask questions later, causing Ash to get hit with Darkrai's nightmare attack. This scene actually scared the crap out of me when I was a kid, as Ash randomly sees some distorted 3D generated monster lunge at him, and he goes to use Turtwig to fight Darkrai, and Turtwig's Pokeball just fucking disintegrates. When I was like 10 and saw this shit happen, I was scared for my life. Ash ends up waking up in the Pokemon Center, and he says that he's going to mess up Darkrai next time he sees him. Tonio randomly announces that he has to look at more data, and then just leaves. And he ends up finding a photo of his great-grandfather and Alice's grandmother when she was younger, and a flashback that Tonio shouldn't even know about plays, showing that Darkrai is nice to Pokemon and Alice's grandmother was nice to him. She is also playing that banger tune Alice played on her leaf earlier. The diary Tonio has says that his great-grandfather had to leave Erasion for the world, but it doesn't even say what that is, which is so stupid. Like, you would think if dude was going to leave something that was going to save the entire world, he would explain it in more detail, but no. Next, we see another sweeping shot of the fucking tower models, and then we go inside the towers as well and look at more 3D shots of random pink balls and a blue clock thing. It's things to show that it's space and time. While here, we also get a few seconds of a shot of a statue in the middle of the building of Alice's grandmother in a tree, which ends up being super important, but we only see it for like a second. They go find Tonio, and he gives Alice the picture of her grandmother, and then on the back of it, there's music notes. Ooh, mystery. Dawn then says that she wants to go play music from the tower, as we learn that the tower can also play music, but you have to walk up a billion flights of stairs to get to the stereo system place. Ash runs ahead like a moron, and the rest of our cast just use the hot air balloon and fucking leave him on the stairs, and we get another sweeping shot of the towers. Holy shit, they must be really proud of this model. Ash starts actually whining about wanting to play the music, but Dawn is like, bro, this was my idea, and Ash legit just pisses and cries about it. So anyways, they play the music and it goes all throughout the town, so I don't know how their eardrums aren't exploding being right in the room where the music is coming from. But anyways, we don't have time to think about that because we have to show you another shot of the fucking towers. We then cut to Palkia and Dialga fighting again. Tonio says their energy is coming from between the dimensions, which I don't even know how he's tracking this. It's never explained. Then suddenly there's this pink light everywhere, and Tonio's like, wow, I'm tripping balls. And then I can't even say that without laughing. Then suddenly there is just this pink light everywhere, and Tonio is like, wow, I'm tripping balls. And then Darkrai appears again, telling someone to go away. And of course, every character takes it personally again. Alberto shows up out of nowhere, attacks first yet again, but this time he is joined by Team Rocket, who just do absolutely nothing and stand there. Also, Darkrai uses an attack and actually says Darkrai, like every Pokemon, but it's weird and inconsistent because this is the only time he says his own name, like other Pokemon, because he can actually talk, so I don't know what's going on with this scene. A ghost-like bee-barrel also just flies out of the wall, and Ash thinks that he's tripping balls, obviously getting into Tonio's stash, and Alberto comes out of nowhere once again and attacks Darkrai once again, though Licky Licky gets hit with the nightmare attack this time and falls asleep. Then, for some reason, Alberto just becomes Licky Licky. Like, he just turns into Licky Licky for absolutely no reason. And Alberto also shouts my royal tongue, which honestly I just wanted to mention here.
Nurse Joy, I think I could use an exam too.
Alberto immediately storms into the Pokemon Center, demanding that Tonio turn him back because everyone be smoking that Tonio pack at this point. Tonio says some shit like the dream world is materializing with the real world and Licky Licky is dreaming he has Alberto, but No one else is being turned into a Pokemon. So I guess this movie just wanted to be shitty to Alberto for absolutely no reason and cause him random pain. Or somebody on the writing team had a licky licky fetish. I don't know which one it is. But anyways, we then find out that the entire town has been Silent Hilled and fog is around all the exits, and when you run into it, you just appear back where you were, which Ash is told. And this motherfucker just runs into it anyways, and it's like, why am I back where I started? As if he wasn't just told that that would happen. Alberto somehow convinces the entire town to go and kill Darkrai with him, including Ash, Brock, and Dawn, who are only stopped when Alice is like, I don't think Darkrai did literally anything. And we also find out here that Tonio didn't even save Alice from falling down the cliff when they were younger. Darkrai did that, and Tonio just took credit for it, and he never saved her. And like, literally the entire love was built on a lie that Tonio saved Alice. And Alice didn't even like get sad about it. She was just kind of like, oh, and then it's never brought up again. We then have a shot of Darkrai's long legs. Tonio looks back at security footage of the entire town that he just has. Like, he's not affiliated with any law enforcement and just has footage of people's houses and streets and stuff, which is super odd. He then does that CSI zoom in enhance cliche thing and just finds Palkia chilling in the sky in between the space and time towers. We cut to Darkrai and the trainers fighting, and Darkrai is getting destroyed, but just wipes out all of the trainers, including Alberto and Team Rocket. So glad we got that scene. It was very plot moving. We go back to Tonio, and he explains that Darkrai actually wanted Palkia to go away and not appear in their dimension, so Darkrai really was the good guy the entire time. Ooh, wow, expectations subverted. Darkrai then attacks Palkia, and in return, Palkia warps the entire town into some nightmare space-time dimension where Dialga also is. At this point, all the dream ghost Pokemon thingies are also gone, so Alberto is back to himself. So I love how that plot lasted for barely any time and had nothing to do with anything. Palkia and Dialga start fighting, Darkrai is getting his ass whooped. They find out Palkia is hurt, and then the more Dialga and Palkia fight, the town just disintegrates. Tonio says that Dialga and Palkia fought in one dimension, and then Palkia fled to their dimension to hide, and then Palkia trapped the town in yet another dimension. Follow me? Because I don't. Tonio then recalls that thing he read in the beginning of the movie and realizes that they are all doomed, as every time Dialga and Palkia attack more, the town just straight up disintegrates and disappears into yet a fourth dimension. A dimension where they will likely die. It's not really confirmed in the movie that they will die in that dimension, but they all act like they're going to die. So I'm assuming that means they're going to die. Alice then just fucking yells at literal rulers of time and space, and they obviously don't listen to her. Darkrai goes and fights Dialga and Palkia, and our main characters just sit there and watch him get his ass beat. He ends up flying into the garden. We find out he protects Alice because he thought she was her grandmother, and I think it would be so funny here if when he found out that it wasn't her grandmother, he just dipped. But no. He then protects her, and he gives Ash a side eye, which is actually really funny. Some other stuff happens, and finally Tonio realizes that he read about Erasion, and Alice says that it's the song, the Leaf song. Ooh, foreshadowing coming back into play. This movie is a masterpiece. And they realize that they need to go and play it in the space-time towers. So they go looking for it, and Alice has some flashback with her grandmother and herself when she was younger, and her grandmother's like, Erasion means prayer. And Alice somehow just finds the disc in 5 seconds, even though prayer has nothing to do with where the disc was located. She just somehow decided to look at the icon on the photo of her grandmother and found it that way. So why did she need to know the whole thing about Erasion means prayer? I have no idea. We cut to Brock and Nurse Joy leading people into the garden, and Brock says no pushing and stuff as if the world isn't crumbling around them in real time. Meanwhile, Ash, Dawn, Tonio, and Alice are trying to get to the tower in the hot air balloon. Palkia and Dialga hit the balloon. Darkrai protects them a few times, but Piplup falls to his death along with Dawn like a few seconds later. But they end up landing safely, so thank frickin' Arceus for that. Tonio falls somewhere too. Alice ends up in the garden after the balloon blows up. And here Tonio actually does save her for real this time, so I guess she just loves him again. Ash and Dawn start to take stairs, and for some reason, Ash lets out Turtwig and Apom as if it wouldn't be better to just keep them in their Pokeballs and run up the stairs because now there's just more Pokemon to worry about, but whatever. Darkrai is also like dead in the garden, or I guess everyone thinks he's dead, and honestly, he should be. Like, what kind of health points does this motherfucker have? Dawn also at one point lets Weasel and Baneri out to create ice on the disintegrating stairs, but then proceeds to keep them out of their Pokeballs, and we get another sweeping shot of the towers. Darkrai has some flashback of Alice's grandmother saying this garden is for everyone, and that makes him come back to life for some reason. And he comes back to life just in time as Dialga and Palkia, if they hit one more time or if their powers collide, then the whole town is doomed. And instead of taking this time to hurry up and climb more stairs, Ash and Dawn fucking stop running and just stand there and stare at Darkrai. And then due to some freak accident, Ash falls and Dawn does as well. And they have to go inside the time tower and climb up more stairs, which were never shown that there are stairs in the time tower. Which then begs the question, why are there 3 flights of stairs leading to the same exact spot in either of these towers? But also in the scene, Ash and Dawn hold hands and it's very cute. When I was like 10 and I shipped them so hard, I like lost my mind at this. Anyways, it happens again where Ash and Dawn just stop and stare at what is happening instead of running to the stereo system room. Like, Dawn even tells Ash to stop and come back to the window so she can show him that Darkrai is fucking dying. Like, y'all are on a time limit. What the? So they do get to the top, and the sound disc isn't fitting, and Dialga and Palkia are just fighting again, and they're gonna kill everyone. And Dawn realizes that the disc is special, so it goes in the middle. But instead of Ash just trying it, he flips the disc over and takes time staring at it to confirm if what Dawn says is making any sense. Like, dude, just put the disc in the middle. You're running out of time. We are on a tight schedule. Everybody's about to die. And then when they go and try to play it, the power is dead. So they just stand there like, oh no, the power is dead. If only we had Pokemon that literally generate electricity. Like, it takes them so long to figure this out that Tonio is accepting his death outside. They finally, at the last minute, play the song and Dialga and Palkia stop fighting right away. And this scene I used to really like as a kid because the song plays and the space-time towers get all pretty and light up. But now I'm just realizing that it's another excuse to have sweeping shots of these towers over and over again. Because for some reason, it gets like the Michael Bay spin-around treatment. And we just sit here and stare at them doing shit for like 1 minute and 10 seconds, which isn't even a joke. It even grows wings and somehow restores the town with no explanation. It's literally just magic. Dialga and Palkia stop fighting and Dialga just dips. And then everyone starts screaming and blaming Palkia as if Palkia was the one who caused all of this. But it was Dialga who caused most of it by hurting Palkia in the first place. Like, but whatever. Palkia uses space magic to put Alamo's town back. So everyone is back and safe and happy. Palkia is gone and all is well, except Darkrai is legitimately just dead. Like, he just died. He didn't come back. Wouldn't that be a more exciting payoff to this movie? But anyways, we then have this sad moment where we see clips of Darkrai from earlier throughout the movie that we have already seen. And it is a montage in black and white of him getting brutally beaten by Palkia and Dialga with some violin song in the background that ends with a replay of him dying. And Ash is like, I'm sorry, Darkrai, that I assumed you were bad and I didn't ask any questions at all and just immediately attacked you. And everyone is legitimately crying. I remember watching this when I was a kid and crying every time. And now I'm just laughing because the entire scene is so ridiculous. Then we pan over to one last sweeping shot of the space-time towers, and surprise, surprise, Darkrai is alive and just standing there on the space tower with his long legs. We then get this very like 2000 slow pop song in the credits featuring screen caps of the Pokemon contest, which was the entire purpose for our 3 amigos going to Alamo's town. And we don't even get to see it. We just get to see pictures and Dawn in like different outfits in the credits. And Dawn loses it too? Like, what is the reason? Also, the dude with the Empoleon is in it and he's dressed like a clown. And it seems like Piplup beat the Empoleon but lost to a Monferno, which just doesn't make any sense. I don't know. There is a second credit song as well, following what seems like a post-credit scene of Dialga and Palkia just flying around. But the song is an emo rap song with Darkrai, and it literally sounds like this.
Living in the shadow.
And then the song just fades out while the singer is still singing. Like, he's literally in the middle of the second verse and the song just stops. In conclusion, this movie is fucking stupid. 10 out of 10.